back to another video. This is a reaction to Dumb Ways to Die USA edition. The video is from Infographics Show. I've done a few similar reactions to not this video in the past, but again from a different channel, like dumbest ways people have died. And I'm not gonna lie, some of them were baffling to me. I mean, you expect to see stupid ways when you get into these videos because it's literally in the title, or dumb ways people have died. But bro, some of them are just like, how have you even got yourself in this situation? It's ridiculous to be honest, but it's always something that I'm just intrigued to see because it's just weird how there's always different ways. You could think of a way someone's died, and no matter how crazy it is, let's just think someone has probably hung themselves on a peg, caught themselves on a peg, like a coat hanger, and they've been stuck there and they've not been able to get off the coat hanger. They're just stuck there and they've died. I'm sure that's happened one time. I know it sounds crazy, yeah, like someone gets themselves stuck on a coat hanger, but maybe it's a little bit too high, their coat's caught and they just can't move, and they've been stuck there for days. You never know, man. The world's fucking ridiculous. All these ways people have in these sorts of videos have passed away. So I mean, I'm sure there's more that no one can actually think of that people have, but I don't know, maybe that's just me being stupid. But yeah, man, let's just get into this. Hopefully you're going to enjoy. Shout out to my Instagram, my Twitter, links in the description for those interested. Save for Patreon, links all there for those who care for it. But let's jump into it, man.
Let's be honest, Americans aren't the most cautious people. Just ask Florida Man when he calls.
Oh yeah, Florida Man. There's got to be a few people living in Florida in this, man. There has to. There has to be.
You for bail money. But some risks and bad decisions don't work out too well. Some end with people going down in history in the obituaries. Here are some of the dumbest ways Americans have managed to get themselves killed. Robert Dreyer maybe shouldn't have been driving anymore. The Florida man had just turned 89 in 2017, but was reluctant to surrender his license. Sure enough, while out for a drive, he crashed into a fire hydrant. A routine accident, except that the crash also managed to break the water line connected to the hydrant. This created a massive burst of water pressure, and when Dreyer stepped out of the vehicle to check the damage, the old man was pulled into a massive sinkhole and disappeared into the ground. Witnesses tried to help, but were...
I mean, I wouldn't say that's dumb. That guy's just... Is it dumb? That's not dumb. He's just unlucky. And scared. That's just a scary way to die. Oh my god.
Unable to get past the surging water, and Dreyer drowned in a freak deadly fender bender. He wasn't the only Florida man to meet an unexpected end. Salvatore Disi was trying to service a helicopter in Hernando County, Florida in 2019. The stubborn aircraft needed to be jump-started, and Disi needed a boost to reach the parts. He decided to use a power cart to reach it, a ground support device used by those loading airplanes and getting them ready for deplaning. His strategy worked, and he was able to get the helicopter working, only for the rotors to move up and down unexpectedly just as he reached them, knocking Disi's head clean off and bringing a sudden end to the 61-year-old airport worker's career and life. This next plane-related death was even more unusual. It was a packed football game between the Jets and the Patriots in New York Shea Stadium in 1979, and the halftime show had an unexpected surprise for fans. The Electronic Eagles, a radio-controlled plane group, was putting on a show of pilotless model planes that could engage in dogfights. But this day, the planes seemed to be getting unusually close to fans. People started getting nervous when one of the planes crashed into the field, but the show went on until one man controlling a model plane shaped like a lawnmower lost control. The model plane spiraled, crashed into the crowd, and seriously injured the unfortunate John Bowen, who died 4 days later.
What the f... Super Bowl halftime... Nope. 1979. Wait, this is for the Super Bowl, right? Death. Oh, it wasn't... Oh, not for the actual Super Bowl game. It was just like a game, just a regular season, I guess. It says it was in December. Flipping hell. That is unfortunate. Poor guy, man. Just went to see a football game.
While it was ruled an accident, it cast a permanent shadow over the Electronic Eagles. But sometimes a car will do just as well as a plane. John Hutcherson and Francis
Did their
Brome
family sue the NFL or anything? Because I'm sure they could have got money for that. I mean, maybe not, but I'm sure they could have.
were two friends who loved to get drunk. After a night of partying, Brome was 2 sheets to the wind, so Hutcherson drove them home. The only problem was he was drunk too. During the fatal 2004 ride, Brome stuck his head out the window and promptly hit a telephone wire, decapitating him. But Hutcherson was too drunk to notice and continued driving home for
That
12
reminds me of that film, is it Hereditary? The one that I saw recently. That was fucked, bro. That's somewhat similar, but this is even worse because it's real life. And he didn't even know it happened. Oh no.
miles before falling asleep and leaving Brome's body in the car. It was found the next morning by a neighbor, and Hutcherson claimed to never notice. Brome's family seemed to believe him, asking a judge for mercy for the drunk driver. This next unfortunate victim was killed by lava, in a sense. Who doesn't love a lava lamp? Those retro home decorations with those hypnotic blobs bouncing up and down still have their fans, and they're much safer than actual lava, if they're handled properly. They're supposed to be heated by a bulb in the base, but Philip Quinn of Kent, Washington had an idea for how to speed it up in 2004. He decided to put the lamp on the stove and heat it. It worked, a little too well. The lava lamp overheated, the glass exploded, and Mr. Quinn took a shard of glass directly to the heart and died soon afterwards. Not exactly the eruption of Pompeii. Sports injuries aren't the most common cause of death, but this one was especially painful. Dick Wertheim was a tennis lineman who would become famous in 1983, when his name became unfortunately prophetic. He was working as an officiant when Swedish tennis phenom Stefan Edberg sent a serve in the wrong direction and hit Wertheim directly in the groin. Wertheim recoiled in pain, fell backwards out of his chair, and hit his head on the hard ground. He was taken to the hospital unconscious and died 5 years later. Wertheim wasn't
5 years later, so he was stuck in hospital for 5 damn years. Yo. Bloody
healthy man, and there were extended legal battles over what killed him, but the International Tennis Foundation made one big change. No more linesmen sitting down during matches. This next daredevil failed a spot check in the most shocking way. Ivan Lester McGuire was a veteran skydiver, and he had gone to his next mission, working with other parachutists in North Carolina. For part of a mass dive in 1988, McGuire decided he would film the other divers as they descended to Earth. Once the others had gone, he made sure his camera was set for recording, got into position, and jumped out of the plane. He had just forgotten one little detail: to put on his parachute. Instead of capturing the other divers as they approached the ground,
Bro, what the fuck? What the fuck? You're parachuting and you forget the thing you need to parachute. Oh my days, you must have had a rough night the night before, because there's no way you forget that. And then once you realise, mate, you must be so scared. What do? You can't do anything. You're just basically just a countdown until you die. At least you get a good view though, decent view.
he managed to capture the fast approaching ground as he free fell toward a fatal impact. A shocking end for a man who made over 800 jumps. One of the most common ways to die? Getting on the wrong side of the wrong animal. Jose Luis Ochoa wasn't exactly a friend to the animals. He liked to attend illegal cockfights in California, and he'd been cited before for training roosters to fight. But in 2011, he had a way to make the cockfights even more exciting, strapping blades to the limbs of the birds to make it easier for them to kill each other. Well, karma got the bird-brained crook. While trying to wrangle one of those birds, it managed to stab him in the calf and he began to bleed profusely. He waited 2 hours to get medical treatment, likely trying to come up with another explanation for his injury, and died soon after arriving. This next death was also caused by cruelty to animals, but these animals were a lot.
I mean, yo, he did ask for it. I mean, the fact that you decide to make something like that happen, you put blades on the chicken and then that's your death. I mean, oh my god, you've done that to yourself.
Smaller. Edward Archbold was determined to live up to his Florida Man title, and what better way than to win a cockroach eating contest? The challenge, hosted by a lizard store in 2012, offered a grand prize of an expensive python, a deadly animal in its own right. But Archbold was done in by much smaller animals. After eating a large number of roaches and worms, he started choking and vomiting. Unable to clear his airway, he collapsed and died outside the store. While his cause of death was never conclusively determined, most believe that the hard, dry shells and the legs of the cockroaches could have easily gotten stuck in his throat. But you don't always have to kill animals to get killed by them. Erica Marshall might have been a Florida woman, but she was a friend to the animals. She was an experienced veterinarian who specialized in treating horses and was working with the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, commonly used for wound care. But several things were overlooked. The horse apparently hadn't been sedated before being led into the chamber, and its metal shoes hadn't been taped over. That, combined with the high oxygen pressure, was a deadly combination. The horse started kicking, causing sparks, which led to a fire, followed by a massive explosion that could be heard 30 miles away and killed both Marshall and the horse. But one man managed to get killed not by an animal, but by a plant.
How is that even possible? I mean, horseshoes are metal, aren't they? So I guess that makes sense, but that's ridiculous to me.
It was 1982 and David Grundman was out for some target practice. The Arizona man was using his shotgun to shoot some signs, and he then turned his attention to another target, the massive saguaro cacti growing in the desert. These cacti aren't the ones you get in a pot at the garden shop. They can be over 20 feet high and live to be over 100 years old. That didn't stop Grundman from shooting at one, and before he knew what happened, the massive spiny limb from the plant landed on him and crushed him. This death became so famous, it was immortalized in a song by the Austin Lounge Lizards. The next fatal stunt proved that more isn't always a good thing. It was 1997 and a group of teenagers from Napa High School were enjoying a senior trip to a local water park. A group came up with the idea to just see how many people could fit in one water slide at a time, and the answer was apparently fewer than they hoped. No one knows exactly how many teenagers crammed themselves into that slide, but a portion of the slide opened up due to the weight, dropping the passengers 40 feet. The accident injured 32 people, including 18-year-old Quimby Galati, who died of her injuries. This next man might have valued his cell phone a little too much. Roger Miro had lost his phone. The 56-year-old Chicago man had a suspicion that it might have been thrown out, so he decided to dig through the apartment building's garbage disposal. Unfortunately, he didn't check exactly how the trash was handled in the building.
No, don't say he's gonna get picked up or something.
The man went missing, and no one knew what had happened until his wife reported the absence later that day. An investigation found him crushed to death by the industrial-strength trash compactors in the garbage.
Oh, there's trash compactors in the actual bin.
While his death was ruled a tragic
Wait, he was crushed to death by a trash compactor.
accident, many residents called for better warning signs around the trash chute in the
What? They're in the actual bins? Oh, wow.
future. But not even the most famous are immune to the most ridiculous deaths. Governor Morris was a founding father and one of the Constitutional Convention's most ardent opponents
That's a brutal way to go, man. Oh, mate. That is grim.
of slavery, as well as a senator from New York. But in 1816, his wisdom in matters of politics didn't extend to wisdom in self-medicating. He had been plagued by a painful blockage in his urinary tract and decided to clear it out himself with a piece of whalebone he used as a catheter. Naturally, this only made things worse, and Morris soon died from internal injuries and infection, which must have led to an interesting day at the medical examiners. This next case took defending his client a little too far. Clement Vallandigham had a controversial life, being an Ohio congressman who was arrested and expelled from Congress for his opposition to the Civil War. He brought that same reckless spirit to his later career as an attorney. In 1871, he was defending Thomas McGeehan, who was accused of murder in a barroom brawl. Vallandigham's argument was that the victim had likely shot himself while trying to pull out his pistol and decided to demonstrate that this could result in an accidental shooting. It worked, a little too well, as Vallandigham fatally shot himself in front of the entire courtroom. While he died the next day, his mission was accomplished. McGeehan was acquitted of murder. This next man could escape anything except a ridiculous death. Harry Houdini was the king of escapes, pulling off daring feats.
Oh, my day. So he's jumping into the swimming pool, something like really heavy, I guess, and he's gonna like unattach himself. I mean, what's the point? I don't understand. I guess there's like an adrenaline rush for the person doing it if they do get out, but I mean, what else do you expect to happen? I mean, it's just dumb, bro. Come on.
Of survival, like escaping from water tanks while in straitjackets or being buried alive. But his undoing was a lesser-known stunt of his. Houdini would frequently dare onlookers on stage to punch him
Oh, this is actually Houdini then.
in the stomach, protecting himself with a special suit. But one day, a man named Jocelyn Gordon Whitehead approached Houdini in his dressing room to test his ability. He punched Houdini several times in the stomach, causing internal
Wait, so he didn't even die from the swimming pool, he literally died from just being punched.
damage. Houdini died several days later of a ruptured appendix, which may or may not have been caused by the punches, but many suspect Houdini would have been aware he had appendicitis if he hadn't already been in pain. Another woman traveled the world until she came to a sudden and shocking stop. Isadora Duncan
Imagine doing all that and then you just die from getting punched. You've done all these different tricks, you've got away with it, you're like known as the person who can escape anything. And then you get punched and then that's how you die. Jeez. How is that even possible, man? All the ways to go, and that's the way.
Dazzled the world as a dancer and traveled around much of Europe far from her San Franciscan home in the early 1900s. She performed up to age 50 when she boarded a luxury French car while wearing a long silk scarf. The scarf was a hand-designed gift by a Russian artist, and while her friends urged her to wear a coat instead, Duncan wanted to show off the wrap. While she was riding, the flowing scarf became entangled in the wheels and axle and yanked her back harshly. Her neck was broken and she died instantly.
I mean, I thought it would get caught by something, but not by her own tyre. And she broke her neck. Oh, that is brutal, man. That's grim.
One of the few people to die in a car accident that didn't involve a crash. In 1984, an American matinee idol met a disturbing end. John Eric Hexum was a fast-rising action star who had just won the lead role on the new CBS drama Cover Up, playing a CIA handler. He may have taken his role as a daredevil hero a little too far. While filming a scene with a real handgun, Hexum was frustrated by a delay in filming. He decided to play Russian roulette with the unloaded gun, which had one blank round in it. But the blank used paper wadding and was shot out from the gun with such force when Hexum pulled the trigger that it shattered part of his skull, causing a fatal brain hemorrhage, ending his promising career and dooming the series as it barely begun.
Fuck? How do you get so bored you just do that? Man, I'm done. Oh, mate.
Ordinary people.
Imagine being on like the scene or on like filming the scene at the moment and you just sort of see him do that. Like, what do you do? I mean, I guess you call an ambulance, but other than that, like, what's your reaction? Like, just the shock that you must have must be unreal.
People died in such dramatic ways that they became celebrities. Michael Godwin was awaiting execution for murder when he got a lucky break. His attorney was able to get his sentence reduced to life in prison, but the convict was getting a little stir-crazy and decided to do a little do-it-yourself repair.
Wow.
He wanted to watch some television, but his earphones were broken. While trying to repair them, he bit into a wire while sitting on the toilet and wound up electrocuting himself as the metal toilet and water hit him with a fatal shock. Looks like he wound up getting the electric chair after all. Let's hope this next case won't start a trend. Gender reveal parties are the hottest new trend, and some people are going well beyond a cake with pink or blue center. Pamela Cremeyer was attending a celebration in 2019 when her family members unveiled the centerpiece, an umbrella filled with gunpowder that would create a shower of sparks in the color of the gender reveal. But the rookie gender reveal engineers miscalculated and the umbrella went off like a pipe bomb instead, hitting the 56-year-old Cremeyer in the head with a piece of metal and killing her instantly. For more on unusual deaths, check out Worst Natural Disasters.
What the fuck? Wait, what?
Sparks in the color of the gender reveal. But the rookie gender reveal engineers miscalculated and the umbrella went off like a pipe bomb instead, hitting the 56-year-old Cremeyer in the head with a piece of metal and killing her instantly.
Bro, imagine being like, oh, that's just depressing, man. What? That's just depressing. Imagine being in the family, like you're there to see the gender of your baby, and then they both end up. Oh, that is brutal, man. That's actually really depressing. He wasn't the only Florida man to meet an unfortunate end. That goes without saying. There should be a TV show called Florida. No need for a script. Just keep the cameras rolling. Let's be honest. Americans aren't the most cautious people. Russians hold my vodka. We're up to the guy who died whilst skydiving with a parachute. It's ridiculous. Imagine living for 89 years and just dying from a broken fire hydrant. Best death of all time, death by laughing at your own joke. I like how the music is joyful and fun, quite opposite of what the narrator is saying. Imagine what went through the skydiver's mind during that last minute, realising he had no parachute. That's what I'm saying, man. The fear and just shock of what you've just done. Oh, mate, that is ridiculous, man. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I don't know how much you can enjoy this one, but definitely some ways that Americans do things to another degree, man. I mean, the last one was just. I mean, a lot of these were just. They're all going to be sad to a degree, but some are funny. But the last one was like, whoa, that is dark, man. When you sort of consider the circumstances of everything, I'm like, whoa, that is fucked. But yeah. I mean, I'll do more of these reactions in the future. Suggest what you want to see just in the comments. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.